It is Wednesday, June the 5th, 2024. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne, and this is Things You Might Have Heard. We're going to present for you in the queue today 8 news stories from yesterday. You voted as conversational. You said we're good to talk about, and we are covering information, politics, current events, and pop culture news on this morning, featuring stories with Anthony Fauci, again, Dolly Parton, again, and Mark Wahlberg, again. We'll explain that in just a bit. Now, the vetting process is simple. We'll explain the full thing after we finish all the headlines. Before we get to you, the things for today, the things you ought to know for today, happening at the end of the program. So stick around for the full deal. You want the news? We'll get the news up front. Then the fun stuff happens at the end. Our website, this is theconversationproject.com, is our home online for all things Conversation Project. Find out how we do things, why we do things, and where to do things online. Plus, email us with your comments, concerns, and sometimes bad tidings at the conversation inbox at gmail.com. We have 8 stories, as I stated before, in the queue for you today. No particular order as they're being presented, but we'll give you some context on how they came to be where they are, plus the teaser part where we'll explain how the whole thing happens in just a bit. Let's get into the news headlines for Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. Headline number 1, story number 1, starts off with Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, not Mr. Fauci, again. Fauci points to MTG in pattern, that's a word from him, quote from him, continued threats. Dr. Anthony Fauci has stated that continued threats against him are due to rhetoric of individuals like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. He highlighted that Greene's remarks contribute to a pattern of harassment and threats. Fauci emphasized that such rhetoric has real-world consequences, leading to increased security concerns for him and his family. Greene has been vocal in her criticisms of Fauci, particularly regarding his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. When Dr. Fauci spoke before Congress earlier this week, Marjorie Taylor Greene was a part of the panel, part of the grilling, and part of her grilling meant calling him Mr. Fauci and her being admonished for saying, no, please, address him as Dr. Fauci, which she says, I will not because of science, yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. Now, Dr. Fauci did have to admit that some of the science-based fact that they said for COVID wasn't all that science-based, wasn't all that much fact. He just sort of made it up as we went along because it sort of sounded good, and we went along with it. So, yeah, there's that. However, because people are basically calling him, you know, a murderer, a terrorist, someone who just wants people to have vaccines, so they forced these weird sort of man-made viruses on us, is a concern. Do you believe Fauci actually created the virus himself, like sat in a lab and poured it down in the drain and sent it to Wuhan for them to distribute it? Or do you think that, you know, things happen naturally and people like MTG are just people like MTG? Tell us in the comments. Tell us what you think about this one, because this one, unfortunately, while COVID is sort of died down, these things are not going away. Let's get the headline number 2, which starts like this. Wisconsin AG Josh Kaul charges Kenneth Chesebro, other Trump aides, in fake elector scheme. From the story, the head editor, robot editor, gave us this one. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul has charged former Trump aides, including Kenneth Chesebro and James Trupus, for their involvement in the fake elector scheme during the 2020 presidential election. The plan, organized by Chesebro and Trupus, involves submitting fraudulent electoral votes in an attempt to overturn the election results in favor of Donald Trump. These charges reveal the depth of the scheme and the significant legal repercussions for those involved. Now, this is just essentially another state, I don't want to say jumping in the bandwagon, but essentially finally getting around to suing the people who did the fake elector sort of plans in various places. Battleground states, or states that they had a good chance of really flipping and kind of getting away with it, were targeted to make sure that enough votes went to Donald Trump in the voting process so that the electoral college votes would show up for Trump. And if they didn't, people would show up and get there before the people that actually were the people that were sent by those states to say, oh yeah, these go for Trump. So that by the time that the real folks showed up and said, no, they go for Biden, they'd have to send it to the courts and send it to the House of Representatives. And because of the majority, Trump would basically win. Sounds complicated. No, doesn't sound complicated at all. Sounds pretty simple. And it didn't work. And so now the people who try to do the fake elector schemes are now coming to justice. At least we'll see them come to justice, coming to court to see what happens moving forward. Our third story for this morning, for Pride Month, we've already talked about Drag Queen Story Hour, which had a phenomenal day in Philly a few weeks ago, as they had record numbers of I'm not sure record numbers of drag queens, record numbers of people showing to watch drag queens read stories to kids. Today, we're going to the NFL, which is getting some flack for being extra woke. I'm not sure if the wokeness essentially started with Colin Kaepernick and the kneeling thing and Black Lives Matter, but a lot of that rolled into it. This time, they're supposed to be celebrating Pride Month. And 11 NFL teams so far have declined to bow to Pride Month messaging. That is the headline from Fox News. So the story, as portrayed by Fox News, there is sort of a blind spot for left-leaning news on this one. So let me read you what the robot editor gave us from Fox's story, and then we'll elaborate. As of now, 11 NFL teams have chosen not to participate in or support Pride Month through their social media channels. While a majority of the league has shared messages in support of Pride Month, these 11 teams have remained silent on the matter. The decision comes amidst a broader context of varying levels of corporate sponsorship to support Pride Month across different industries and organizations. Go to the link in this, whether you're watching the video or seeing the audio, to see what teams are deeper into this one, what teams are saying no, and sort of get the full Fox News wash over the story. Pride Month is here, and it's not going away. So let's leave it at that. But we will have stories all month essentially talking about essentially the backlash of Pride Month itself, because it's here, we've acknowledged that it's there, celebrate or not based on your own beliefs, but whether it will be celebrated on a corporate level, those things are essentially starting to change. You can respond to this one as well as you want to. Our fourth story for this morning, sad news for another OG in the tennis world. Novak Djokovic withdraws from French Open with injured right knee. Novak Djokovic has withdrawn from the French Open due to an injury to his right knee. The announcement was made on Tuesday, ending Djokovic's defense of his title in the tournament. The unexpected development marks a significant moment in this year's French Open, as Djokovic's absence will undoubtedly impact the competition. You see, if you're watching the video, the picture of him being worked on right now because he just could not go through with it. We're seeing a lot of changing of the guards in the tennis world. As I'm not as young as I was and watching SportsCenter all day, I'm not as up to date with all the newest tennis people. Essentially, Serena and Venus were essentially my fix in the day, and as they have moved on, or moving on in some cases, I guess Serena's still competing in some sense, not really following what's going on. We're seeing the folks that were the big tops in my day starting to come down because of age. We'll see what happens going forward and who the new young guns will be going for in tennis and all sports in general. Here's an interesting headline, and this is one of those stories that it's one of those things that I don't particularly care about, and I'm not sure many people would actually care about this except for the big love for true crime type stuff, which sort of got her out in this case. But here's the story headline as it goes right now. At number 5 this morning, Gypsy-Rose Blanchard and family sue content creator Fancy Macelli for alleged defamation. The headline, or the story from the headline reads, Gypsy-Rose Blanchard and her family have filed a lawsuit against Fancy Macelli, a true crime content creator. They accuse Macelli of fraud, defamation, and breach of contract and other claims. Lawsuit alleges that Macelli misled Blanchard into signing away her life rights while she was in prison. The Blanchard family claims that Macelli's action caused them harm and that Macelli fabricated stories about them. They're seeking unspecified damages. Now, if this is true, if the way it worked out as well, and Blanchard essentially signed away all her rights or the bulk of her rights for her life and her story going forward, it makes it hard for her to continue on the way she's sort of living, which is selling her story, which she has a right to. Now, if it was actually stolen or rights were stolen by Macelli and she's basically made up stories to keep things going, keep making money, that's a problem as well. We'll see how this thing plays out in court. Now, what we do have for Blanchard is she's backing away from a lot of the stuff she's doing because she's realizing, as being, pretty blatant, that flaunting herself out on social media is a good way to get yourself put back in prison, based on, all the good love and support you're getting by just showing that you're just as dumb as the rest of us, flaunting yourself on social media. So that's a good thing. And for the person who didn't go back, get out of prison and go back to work at the Piggly Wiggly and have a nice, quiet life, she probably needs to figure out how to make things work without having to overly tell her story in many ways. But since basically her income and livelihood is essentially, and notoriety is essentially keep telling her story, she should have the rights to it, not anybody else. Let's go to story number 6. This is a big one. Psychedelic drug MDMA faces FDA panel in a bid to become first of its kind PTSD medication. So X No longer just for parties. Now it's for no longer just for harping at people on online as well as Twitter's called X. It's now used for actual drug that can actually take care of people. Federal health advisors have rejected a proposal to use psychedelic drug MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy or Molly, as a treatment for PTSD. But the fact that they're actually working on it, reviewing it, is a big deal. First time the proposal has been reviewed, so they're not going away yet. Despite some studies indicating that MDMA combined with talk therapy can reduce PTSD symptoms, not just popping a pill, but actually working through the symptoms, the advisory panel's non-binding vote suggests concerns about the approval of medical use. The FDA will consider this recommendation for its final decision. So it's not out of the question yet, but the colorful pills that you find at the parties may actually have a chance to be used for PTSD, along with some serious and very, very monitored talk therapy. Is this a good thing? This one may be one that's going to come back and bite us in the butt. But prescribing weed, various cannabis problems, has proven not to be, I won't say that big of a deal, though it is some issues. Some people do have issues with it. Will a prescription for Molly, along with sitting down to talk to someone about it, help people with PTSD? I guess we'll find out sooner or later. Our number 7 headline: Sandy Hook families ask for Alex Jones Media Company liquidation. This is a story we teased yesterday, and we'll explain what the teaser part is. That's how we get the stories picked for this headline show this morning. The headline story goes to this: the families of Sandy Hook victims have requested a bankruptcy judge to liquidate Alex Jones's assets, including his media company, to collect a $1.5 billion award in lawsuits against him. Jones, known for spreading falsehoods about the 2012 school shooting, is facing severe financial consequences, like $1.5 billion. The liquidation would force him to sell most of his possessions and company assets, which means he couldn't make much money off what's going on right now, couldn't make any, income, and of course, pay back the people that he owes in the lawsuit. I'm not sure, and I'm not an actual lawyer. Like I tell folks, I came to Arkansas to go to law school and never quite figured out how to do that, so I'm not an actual lawyer, although still curious about it. I'm not sure how legal this is. I'm sure, there's all legalities for all sorts of things. I'm not sure how they can actually press him to sell his assets and get rid of his ways of making money. It is punitive, so there is a point, and they can force him to pay money eventually. But if he keeps reorganizing, say he has some money for bankruptcy to keep the company going and basically hide his assets, there are legalities towards that because people should have a right to earn a living. That much living, doing that much crazy stuff, and basically just being a jerk, that's a whole nother story. We'll see how this progresses in court as, one, people were surprised they got $1.5 billion judgment from him, and two, people are extremely surprised how they're going to get that money from him anyway, because he's a sneaky, sneaky snake. And finally, a bit of a mea culpa, a bit of apology for putting words into Ms. Parton's mouth. Now, here's the headline. Dolly Parton says she wants to appear in Jennifer Aniston's 9 to 5 remake. From the Robot Editor, Dolly Parton is excited about Jennifer Aniston's upcoming remake of 9 to 5 and hopes to make a cameo in the film. Parton, who starred in the original 1980 movie alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, expressed her enthusiasm while co-star Lily Tomlin shared doubts. The original film, which highlighted the struggles of overworked and underpaid women, remains a beloved classic. Now, we should leave it at there, but this is where I'm going to quickly apologize. A few days back, we talked about Lily Tomlin, who's wondering how we're going to do this movie about working women and hard work when working women and hard work aren't exactly the same. Working women are sort of expected to be there, not that there's equality between the two, and the fact that work is not what it was. Basically, for 9 to 5, there was a secretarial typing pool. There's all these administrative assistant type folks, and now everybody works online. They work from home and have AI assistants doing things. So how does work well, says Lily Tomlin. And I said, Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, and Dolly Parton basically said, bless your heart, go get it done, Jennifer Aniston, but we're not sure about this thing. I was wrong about Dolly Parton. She wants in. She wants in, and so this is me officially apologizing for that statement. Not that she cares, but we'll see. We'll still see if Jennifer Aniston can pull off this movie, but right now we're taking words out of Dolly Parton's mouth, because the words actually in her mouth is, yeah, I'm down, where's my part? Now we talk about our teaser story for the day. And our teaser story is where we transition to talk about how the stories actually make it into the conversation projects projects. And today's teaser story, let's go straight to the headline first and then explain how the teasing part works for the story. So the headline that we're pulling out here to spotlight for you to look for reads like this. Madonna responds to class action lawsuit regarding her late concert start times, ... claiming that real fans would know she's typically tardy. Bit of a mea culpa on this one as well. The reason why we're pulling this story, because we've pulled this story before about the late times, the late start times for her concerts that have been happening, people complaining about them. And we actually pulled something about the lawsuit in general. I actually was looking for a story that I saw while watching News Nation about a guy who's suing Madonna and her concerts for them being dirty. And I couldn't find that. I'm assuming it's all part of the class action lawsuit is they're late and they're dirty. When the guy was doing his interview, he was just talking about how the fact that they're dirty, they're lewd, it's not what expected, although she's been Madonna for all her life, and I'm not sure why he didn't expect that. But that was what I was looking for. This is specifically about her speaking out, fighting back, telling people, dude, I'm always late. You're paying for the ticket. That's the experience. This is Madonna speaking out to this one. Do you think this is a story we should be talking about tomorrow? How will we do this? I will pick 8 stories from the top 15 of today being Wednesday on the 5th. And of those 15 stories, 8 stories will be picked, and we'll put them in the presentation for you like this, in the newsletter, in the audio, in the video we're producing right now. If you want to see, hear, or read those stories, engage in those stories to give them more engagement. Simply go to our Facebook page, go to our X page, and engage in the stories. Facebook.com/thisisconversationproject and X.com/th_conversation. As you engage in the story, this literally just click the little smiley face or the emoji that fits your thought process, plus sharing it and replying as well. Comments are always welcome. We want comments in the stories. The more engagement story gets, the better chance we have of talking about it in the next day. It's that simple. You tell me what stories to talk about every single day here in the Conversation Project, and we talk about it. We make it work. We do it for you, for the clicks, and for you as well. Let's go to our spotlight sponsor, and today we're still spotlighting me, or the More Bitter Media, larger part of me. More Bitter Media, the larger scope of things I produce for media, and a new book I produced to go along with my actual wanting to progress business part. Another business, as you will, for Fast Forward Business Properties, where I help people manage their businesses and personal development to be a better person in business. And this is my new book, which was published last week, called Middle Manager Manifesto, Tools to Survive and Thrive in the World of Work. I've got 14 tools in this book that help you as a middle manager get through your workday. So if you are a middle manager, these will help you do better and maybe progress up, get people to figure out that you're good enough for the next step. If you're moving into middle management, this will help you progress into that role and keep things going. And if you're on either or side, it will help you look for things to help out your managers or help out the people that manage those below you to make things work out. Check it out. It's a great book because I said so, but it's a brand new book, so check it out, do some reviews, do what you can. Click on Goodreads as you're reading it. Tell folks about this one. We can use the help. We can use all the help, and this will help me grow as a business person, grow in my world, actually in education, because I'm also a business instructor, a business professor, and just grow in the realm of publishing more books. Between 10 and 12 books is what I have listed as published. Basically, Amazon has some of them doubled up, so I can't figure out which one's an account. But I believe I have 10 books listed at my website, jclevenpayne.net/books, listed there. This is the new one because, fighting depression and just whatever, publishing new ones every month for whatever reason. So this one's out here this month. Check it out. $10 for the paperback and $5 per Kindle ebook, and also available in other bookstores online as well, and some independent bookstores. I've got in some independent bookstores in some places, though they're kind of shady, to be honest. But in some independent bookstores, in some libraries, look for Middle Manager Manifesto, where you buy or borrow your books today. So the Conversation Project lives online at this is theconversationproject.com, our website, our home, where we get things done for the Conversation Project. We thank you so much for being a part of us, whether you're watching this thing live. We have about 8-9 people viewing it live in the morning, so thank you so much for watching this. You'll watch this on the replay or in the clip version throughout the day, or listening to the audio version, that's a replay, and watching the clips going through. Thank you so much for how you actually engage and how we get our stuff. As we said earlier, your engagement lets us know how we get our stuff. So go to our websites, our links on Facebook and X and engage the stories there to get the stories. Go to our website and look for our sponsors. Consider checking out some more sponsors to keep things going on. Consider being a partner yourself, which basically makes you a sponsor and gets you direct access to me and what we got going on and how to make things better. And email us. Email us with your comments, your concerns, and sometimes your bad tidings, because some of them come out to me. Read them all. Some make me cry. Some make me shake my head and wonder. But that's the conversation inbox at gmail.com for this show. Let me know what you're thinking about the show, how we're doing things going forward, because this ultimately is about you. This does not get done without you, because I need you to help me do the tally for the stories. I don't just pick the stories arbitrarily. I don't listen to Wolf Blitzer and say, oh, he did those 3 stories, I'm doing those 3 stories. I take the stories Wolf May talked about, put them out there for you and the internet to kind of engage in and let you guys tell me what's going on. So keep on keeping on. Go to our feeds and let me know what stories we're talking about every single day. And of course, email me with your comments as well. And at this point in time, it is time to transition and have some fun. It is time to have some fun because it's time to talk about things you might ought to know for Wednesday, June the 5th, 2024. I am going to present for you some fun things, some irrelevant things, and some learning things. So we want you to learn a few things on this day, about this day, for this day. So for this day, let's start off with birthdays. Birthdays are always the funnest part of the fun stuff. And every year we talk about these 3 guys because I just love these 3 guys. For June 5th, happy 68th birthday to Kenny G, the man who masters the alto sax, not the alto sax, what is that thing? The tenor sax, all the saxes, all the time, coming into prominence as the sax man, I guess late 80s, early 90s, going through all that stuff, and still belting it out today. Kenny G is 68 years old on the day. Ron Livingston, who I almost got confused with the other Ron guy and the mustache. No, this is the guy, the star of Office Space and A Million Little Things. 57 years old on the day. And Mark Wahlberg, 53 years old today. Happy birthday to Mark Wahlberg. Every year on this day, we put the earworm, Good Vibrations in Your Ear from 1991, that hit, that banger, if you will, and ask the questions. Does he really want to see your sweat come on your pores? And can he name 3 members of the Funky Bunch not named Donnie D? Because I'm kind of petty, but we'll see. I don't know him. If I do meet him, I'm not brave enough to ask those questions. But Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, 53 years old on this day. Moving on to history, literally history, things that happened on this day, June the 5th on not 2024, because that is today, but back in the day, way back in the day, starting off in 1956, oh have mercy. Elvis Presley introduced his new single, Hound Dog, on the Milton Berle Show, scandalizing the audience with his suggestive hit movements, doing the on TV for all the people to faint and wither away because of the suggestive nature of his hips, moving back and forth. But the king could get away with it, or soon could get away with it. In 1981, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that 5 homosexuals in Los Angeles had come down with a rare kind of pneumonia. They were first recognized cases that became known as AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, back in this day in 1981. The discovery of this pneumonia, this disease, happened back on this day. In 2013, the first article based on NSA leaked documents by Edwin Snowden was published by the Guardian newspaper in the UK. So Edward Snowden, who is now, I guess he's still living in an embassy in Russia or someplace. He may actually have an apartment someplace. This is the first day that his leaks from the NSA began in 2013. He's still trying to be, we're still trying to get him back into the States to face his crimes. Working on Julian Assange, that's being worked out right now. Edward Snowden's still sort of out in the wild. For today, from the Big Words Project, another part of More Better Media, the word for the day is hypothesis. Hypothesis. And you can find the definition by going to big word for this big word by going to thebigwordsproject.com, but you can find it here because I'm going to tell it to you. Model of excellence or perfection of a kind. Used in a sentence. The artist's latest sculpture was hailed as the antithesis of modern design, admired for its flawless form and innovative use of materials. Like I said, check out the big words of the day at thebigwordsproject.com. And our daily affirmation, because we want to get some positivity in our lives as well. let's get this one out because this is one you may actually need today. I am becoming closer to my true self every day. Why is this affirmation good for you? It improves decision making. As you become more attuned to your true self, your decision making process becomes more aligned with what is generally important to you. This clarity makes it easier to make choices that contribute to your happiness and fulfillment. Yes, everything's a sales pitch here, so you can find more affirmations and more like this by going to Amazon.com and searching for Daily Affirmations, J. Cleveland Payne, and get my current book, another one of my current books, 100 Daily Affirmations for Positivity and Confidence. And you can pick one to read for your day or go through it and figure out how to make your own affirmations with that one. And finally, every day is a reason to celebrate and need to celebrate. And today, let's celebrate Gingerbread Day. 'Tis the season to celebrate National Gingerbread Day. While this may sound weird for June the 5th, gingerbread lovers across the country celebrate by sampling their favorite recipes and gingerbread treats, whether in the form of bread, cakes, bars, biscuits, or cookies. Gingerbread is delicious any time of the year. Now, in December, it's Gingerbread House Day. You celebrate gingerbread houses around Christmas time because of these ceremonies. But June the 5th is the day that people who love gingerbread say, screw it. You don't have to be cold. Gingerbread is good today and any day. Also, Ketchup Day. So your alternate day can be Ketchup Day because ketchup's good any day as well. But if you want to celebrate ketchup as opposed to gingerbread, so be it. But because if it feels weird to be eating gingerbread in the beginning of summer, don't knock it. Give it a shot. Find some gingerbread. I'm sure you can actually find some discounted gingerbread houses from Christmas out there someplace because they're probably in some discount stores there. But Gingerbread Day is what we're actually celebrating on this day. And this day, Wednesday, June the 5th, 2024. Thank you so much for being a part of the day. Not the right closeout that I really want to do with this. I'm trying to figure out how to close this out for the clip. So we're working on this stuff. So bear with us. Bear in mind that Operation Chaos is still chaos and happening throughout our world. Oh, by the way, Operation Chaos update. Yesterday, for all those who care, and you should care if you're watching this and continue to watch this, inspection passed. Yay. House is livable. Yay. We're going to start the transition out of this temporary abode back into our permanent abode. And so in the next couple of days, we'll start doing some transition, moving some stuff, and probably next week, we'll probably wait till the end of this week into next week, we will begin tearing down this place, which means unplugging a couple things, and take our time to build ourselves back into the other place. So there will be very fewer of these things you might have heard going forward. We'll produce the newsletter. We'll do some hot takes as things go along, but we're going to have a bit of a hiatus on what's going on. We hate this happening now because we do have sort of a rhythm of happening, and we're kind of at a cusp where we really want to break through to 1,300 viewers. We're at 1,290 something right now. So we're going to break through to 1,300, 1,320 or so in the next couple of weeks or so, going slowly. Getting, 10 a week is not a bad number at the rate we're going. 100 a week would be great, but we're going to keep on going as we can. But with that said, this thing will be kind of on the going forward. So check out what we have going on. This is your time to subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss out on the stories. And check out, I guess, the podcast, the audio podcast, probably won't produce as well because we're not doing the video. But make sure you subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss the stories. And make sure you're finding us on various other sources such as TikTok and YouTube Shorts so you can actually see what we produce in the hot takes versions of the stuff going on. In the meantime, stay limber, hydrated, and on task for all the grand things you are doing. We need you around here. So even though we're taking a break, it's a temporary break. We'll be back. I promise, guaranteed. Make sure you're following us on our feeds and giving us the stories to talk about. We still need that while we're doing the newsletter only. We're not doing this podcast. And consider being a partner to keep up with some of the deeper details of Operation Chaos and the life and times of More Better Media, things you might not have heard, the Conversation Project, and some of the Fast Forward Business Property stuff as well. And the biggest thing is, have a great day. Love you. Mean it. It's Wednesday. Enjoy your Wednesday. We're going to do this again tomorrow and Friday. We'll get 2 more days out of this, guaranteed. So we'll do that. Unless something really big happens, we're going to get 2 days out of this one. But moving forward, which means a lot of bigger, better, badder things happening, upgrades to equipment, upgrades to locations, some fixes, more space. So we'll go someplace where we have something more permanent in the background instead of just the blank white wall. and more great stuff coming from all of us. Thank you so much. We will see you again, Lord willing, creek don't rise, tomorrow. Good vibrations. See sweat come out your pores.